Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our last conference track at TRUSTECH. Thank you to be here with us this morning. I hope the event meets your expectations. Please stay with us until the end. At 2 p.m. we will have two keynotes of Ford and Gemalto on room 1. Inspiring keynotes. I remember you that you can live tweet the conference using the hashtag TRUSTECH. And now let's open this track. During the conference, when the speakers are giving their talk, you can ask questions. Just raise your hand, and we can ask questions to our experts. So this track on artificial intelligence, we decided to divide it. We will focus on cybersecurity. We will focus on banking, KYC, also travel or healthcare. So if you ask yourself what new data models allow insight and supervised or deep learning, what digital infrastructure changes are needed to accommodate AI developments, you are on the good track. Unfortunately, Eric Caprioli, the lawyer, is not here with us today due to personal matters. If you are interested in AI and regulations, you can go on the website of Access Now. There is a full report, really interesting, and you can download it. Access Now. So our first speaker is the co-founder and COO at Hubble, the identity verification engine powered by video and AI. She used to work in Gemalto, where she was in charge of the identity document verification business for the private sector. Previously, she was a strategic consultant in IT Kearney, Paris, and she holds a diploma from ESSEC Business School. Please welcome on stage Juliette Delanoë, co-founder of Hubble, for her keynote KYC, Game, Set and Match. Welcome, Juliette. This is the clicker and your microphone.
Hi, thank you. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. So we're going to... Hello? Yes. We're going to talk about KYC and how do we verify the identity of people, especially in an online environment using AI. First, the problem. So identity fraud is today one of the fastest growing crime in the world. This is not me who is saying that, this is Interpol. Just some figures so we can size it. We're talking about 400,000 identity frauds reported each year in France. We're talking about an estimated amount between 5 and 20 billion euros, so it's quite wide, but it's difficult to estimate. And we are another example in UK with 180,000 ID theft and a very fast growth. So with this issue, basically, a long history, we have worked as human beings and society to verify the identity of people. So especially in a border control use case. This was the first use case we developed. So first, we created records of people. So we know they're coming from a specific country, and then we put in their hands documents, initially passports, so they can prove they are coming from a specific country. It was invented in the 15th century in England. So how did we do? We trained people to recognize those kind of documents and to check the identity of people. So we have trained agents that were looking at the border, who is crossing. So here security can be represented by a tennis racket. So basically we have a ball, and if it's a fraud, we can stop it. So first, train agents. as long as technology has been developing, basically we have equipped those people with means to be more performant. So we've put in their hands facial recognition technologies, camera, fingerprint readers, document readers. We have equipped them with databases to help them make better decisions on letting passing people or not. So if you want, we have augmented these humans with technology. And they've become more performant. But with the digitalization of the economy, we are more and more losing the trained agents. We are more and more performing those kind of transactions. So we're talking about border crossing, but there are other use cases. Employing someone, playing online, renting a house. A lot of use cases today request identity verification and are more and more digitalized. So, online identity verification is on the way. I wanted to share some figures with you, I thought would be useful to catch this trend. We've done a study at Hubble. We've asked people about the identity verification topic. It's not a big panel, but still, their answer is quite interesting. We've asked 600 people in France. So, have you already used those technologies? 40% of people have answered yes at least once. So it's not big, but still it's coming. People know those technologies. And did you like it? Do you want to do it again? Do you prefer to do face-to-face, or do you like online identity verification? And the answer, yes, by 95%. Yes, we want to do it again. We think it's very practical. So with those two trends, you can see that it might become the standard of the future. It reduces costs. You don't need people to do it. And people like it. So it's more and more developing. I think I had a question over there. So, okay. Two figures I wanted to share. Those technologies, it's basically you put in the hands of people an app. They can, for instance, take a picture of an ID and then take a picture of a face. So we're using the same kind of technologies that we used for trained agents. We verify the document, we extract the information, and we do facial recognition. So it's very similar. The issue is that when you remove the agent, you remove the security strings in the middle. Because a trained agent, he takes a document in his hand. He looks, is it plastified? Is it square? Or is it just a piece of paper? Does it move? Is it printed? The face I'm seeing, is it just a photo or is it a real human? Those verifications are very intuitive for a human being, but they're not for a machine. They're not. It's very hard to do that, especially if you do it with one picture. If you look at a picture of a photocopy of an ID document, it's very hard to say, even for a human being, if it's a photocopy or a real one. It's very hard to see it. Face-to-face, it's easy. So we have a security hole. We let a lot of fake identity pass. And it's an issue. Because if you want the digital economy to develop, because of regulation, you need security. Because of trust, especially in C2C platforms, you need digital identity. Otherwise, anonymization, there is no right. There is no insurance. There is nothing. You cannot trust. And for protection also against identity theft. So it's a must to strengthen those technologies, and the question is how AI can help. At Hubble, we had an idea. We thought that machines can drive. Machines can do a lot of things, and they are very good in performing specific tasks. And there's no reason that they cannot verify the identity of people as well as a border control agent. But the thing is that you need to give them as much data as a border control agent. And if you give them one photo, they are missing information. You need video, you need movement, you need interaction with users, or the machine cannot analyze anything. So we started by this intuition that more information was required, and we built a video streaming infrastructure to ask people to show their ID, to move them, to guide them, to move their head. And then we built the machines to analyze that and to verify that the presented identity document and face is looking like a real one. We are analyzing not one image, but 100 with our algos, verifying holograms of ID and being better also at capturing data. Because we don't care if it's an image is blurry or if it's shiny on the side. We have hundreds of images, it's fine. And same for the face. And we do that automatically and live by guiding users. So we still are working on the development. We're not yet at the level of a border control agent. Of course, humans are good. But we're progressing fast and already catching photocopies of identity document, for instance. So I'm done with the speech, and I'd be very happy to take any question if you have one.
Yes, one question.
Just saying that we are finalizing, putting the string back with AI.
Can you say something about? I'm assuming you are going through a phase of trying to train the systems, your algorithms, and
Yes.
feed them enough data over a period of time to, as you say, improve their accuracy to reach that or even surpass that of agents. Can you say something about this process? I mean, in terms of how much data you need, where the data comes from, and all that. How expensive that is in terms of hours and computing power and that type of learning kind of process. Thank you.
Sure. The specificity with the KYC business is that we're talking about a cold start, meaning that you don't have data at first. So it's a challenge. So basically what we've done is that we need to train algorithm with few information. So you need to develop algos that are smart and that are going to help a lot and accelerate a lot your learning process. So we are applying computer vision technologies to really split in different channels basically the videos that we receive. And we receive a lot of information because a video is hundreds and hundreds of images that we can use to learn. So basically we have developed those algos, and now we are training them with few amount of data per document. So we don't need a lot of sessions to make our algorithm learn. And we have previous knowledge of, for instance, what an hologram looks like, where it should be. It's our algos are very much prepared before we start training them. Does it answer to your question?
We have another question.
We have a standard which is the passport.
Yes.
I mean, cross borders, and the standard is acknowledged all over the world. We don't have a standard for AI identification. So we may have 10,000 systems around the world to try to do something like what you were doing, and there would be incompatibilities or duplication or misrecognitions.
So the idea is that we sit on this standard. We use this standard. Our job is to verify identity documents that are recognized as true. Okay, and our job is to catch obvious fakes, the one someone can build with just a printer and a pair of scissors. Okay, this is our job. And AI can help a lot to do that. Humans are good to do it, but AI, it's automatic, it can scale, it's cheaper, and it can be digitalized. So that's, we're not replacing the standard of passport or ID cards. We are using them and just checking them with AI. Yes? Yes. To verify what? To verify a passport? We verify a passport. We verify the passport, we verify the ID cards. There are solutions, most of them are based on photos. One image, we are analyzing hundreds. Yeah, they need to be tested. And I mean, yeah.
Juliette, a last question for you.
Yes.
How do you do to work in a context of GDPR to store the data or for data management?
Yes, so it's good question because when you talk about sensitive information in the context of GDPR and in AI, you need to store information and train algorithm on that. So as I said, we don't need a lot of data to train our algos. We store the information during a limited period of time, just enough to investigate in case of fraud, and during this time we train our algos on the video we receive, and after we just suppress everything. So we are compliant with GDPR today.
Yeah, a last question.
Hello there.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Lee Suka here from XConnect. We know that AI is also an arms race.
A what? Sorry.
It's an arms race for fraudsters.
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking at things like pupil dilation and changes in skin tone when you look at your video streams?
When we look at the video stream on the facial analysis, you mean? Okay, so what we do basically is we perform facial matching versus the ID. We don't do it once, but we do it like many times because we have a lot of information. So we check the face also is not switching, that people are not, we are not having two people switching faces. We verify the 3D modeling of the face, and that's mainly it. It allows us to catch photos, and we're working on the 3D masks, which are the most known attack on what we call liveness detection. But in terms of skin tones and this, no, I must say we're not doing that. But yeah, but maybe interesting. Okay.
Thank you, Juliette. So now, let's focus on the travel industry. Our second speaker have done 3 times the distance between the Earth and the Moon. 25 years experience in the airline, advertising and travel insurance business with a global focus. In 2013, he launched Milanamos, a startup specialized in data science for travel operations. Planet Optim, their SaaS-based predictive traffic solution, is today used by 40 airports, airlines, and travel operators worldwide. Welcome on stage, Christophe Imbert, CEO and co-founder of Milanamos, for his keynote AI for the travel industry, a smooth journey from inspiration to payment. Welcome, Christophe.
So, thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thanks very much to be here. And I'd like to discuss with you about travel in general, because, you know, the travel industry and mainly airlines rely on a lot of technologies. and it's a lot of silos with different people working in different areas. And when we talk in airlines about technology, we mainly talk about aircraft, we mainly talk about pilots. In France, we sometimes talk about strikes with pilots as well. And passengers are passengers, but not necessarily customers. Because obviously an airline doesn't know anything about passengers, or not much, except someone's flying from somewhere to here for some reasons or not reasons. I'd like to ask you, the one of you who did fly here, most of you did fly or traveled? Yes. So obviously the airline knows you've been flying here, but most of the airline do not have a clue of the reason of your trip, whether you're on vacation, whether you go for a meeting, or whether you go for funerals. So it's sometimes very, very difficult to understand why people travel, because we don't have any data. So, and when it would come, when you arrive at an airport somewhere, you know, some of you went to Bora Bora in Tahiti, in French Polynesia. It's a wonderful place. I've been working there, it's great. The only issue is that when you arrive from a 20 hours flight from France, for example, you commute from Papeete to Bora Bora, and you need to take a boat, which will take you to the hotel, you know, like a commuting boat. And you need to buy a ticket for that. But in most cases, when you land in Bora Bora, the guy is not here, because it's not connecting to the flight. The other thing is that you need to pay cash in French Pacific franc. There is no ATM at the airport. And the guy will take you, get money at the hotel, but it will take like 2 hours. Welcome to paradise. And all these things could not work because all these people got different systems. They've been working that way for many years. And if we could imagine, for example, travelers as something which is very seamless, you would buy something, a ticket, which is taking you from home to here because your travel operators know you are going at TRUSTECH. If you book on Airbnb, I think Airbnb knows a lot of things about you. If you buy something on Amazon, Amazon even knows when you will buy things which are on your wishing list or dream list. And we use AI in our company to make that possible. Because what we want to understand is mainly travel behaviors rather than collecting data on passenger volumes. And when we talk about travel behaviors, it's why do people travel? What are their inspiration in travel? And what is the purpose of the trip? So how do we do that? We collect mobile data, or we collect data from different apps, anonymously or non-anonymously, depending on people's choice. And if we know that there are X people who get out of the BA flight coming from London Heathrow yesterday and came here, if we correlate with the event, we know that out of these people, 10 passengers on the flight are customers who are coming to the TRUSTECH conference. That's one thing. The second thing is airliners, they operate global networks. And as we discussed before, they don't know much about passengers. And they don't even know what customer means sometimes. Because travel behaviors and trends are not there. And we help all the travel operators to identify new route opportunities. You know what are travel trends for the next 10 years? Because when we open a route with an airline, you know you need to buy aircraft, you need to allocate aircraft, you need to request slots, and it takes 3 years to 1 year before you decide to fly somewhere. So it's kind of long-term planning exercise. Should we need, for example, France has committed to have 100 million tourists over the next 3 years, which is an increase of 15%. So how do we adjust capacity to facilitate that and all this contingency plan? Again, it's very difficult to identify because all these people work in silos. I would take the example of Tahiti. In Tahiti, now we got a low-cost airline, French Bee, which is flying there. The capacity has doubled, but the hotel room capacity has not doubled at all. So would you park people in Camp Place for a honeymoon or whatever, because it's kind of a luxury destination, and it's something where we struggle with as well. So what we do is that we help airlines to understand which capacities they could put on any route over the next 3 to 5 years. And we use, again, AI algorithm, which are more predictive algorithm to identify new trend opportunities. And the final thing, everybody is talking about multimodal or intermodal transport. So in Europe, it's a political debate where politicians are pushing for it. But when you go to Brussels, you know, or you talk to various stakeholders, they are pushing back because if you put rail and airlines together in a competitive landscape, airlines would not like to be compared on the same screen, on the same shopping list. But again, if we talk about environment, if we look about not using your car to get to an airport, if we got seamless, synchronized transportation, it should be good. So what we do here, and unfortunately we do that in Asia, place like Hong Kong or Japan, because in Europe it doesn't go very, very quick. Like if you talk to Aéroport de Paris, they are in a conflict with the people of Air France. They are in conflict with SNCF, the French rail, and it does not move forward very well because it's mainly a debate between people graduated from 2 engineer schools. So what we do is that we understand that railway now connect at airports. So why should you need to buy 2 tickets? Why should you need to wait for ages to connect? So we connect these people very easily. Is that we collect data from rail company, we collect data from a bus company, long distance coach company, or even short distance boats. Or in Hong Kong, it's amazing because there are 3 airports, 120 million people living in the area, and the airports are roughly 70 million passengers each. And now there is a bridge connecting Hong Kong to Macau, and the airport of Macau will be considered as the new runway of the Hong Kong airport. So it's a kind of playground which is very stimulating to build things. So we collect data from everybody, and on top of that, we got a lot of mobility data coming from GPSs, coming from mobile phones, and we map where the demand's coming and how we should dispatch, or offering better connections between transport operator. Again, we use algorithm and we use AI for that, or mainly AI and operation research to do it. And we recommend, based on door-to-door traffic, what should be the ideal connection. Let's say we're a kind of meeting or date.com for travel operators, and that's what we do in a nutshell. So it's and when we come to public transportation, you know, I think one of the key figures in this world is that 35% of travelers do not use public transportation to get to the airport due to poor connectivity. We got a good example. One of the latest European or worldwide airport, which is not connected to any train, is Orly in France. Charles de Gaulle as well. You know, when you arrive in Charles de Gaulle, you take the RER, which is connected. But if you arrive on vacation from the US, you'll visit some very nice outskirts of Paris where the train is stopping. So, and now there will be a direct route, CDG Express, which will connect both. So we got a lot of things moving on as well, because the key challenge is to reduce gas emission, to reduce usage of personal cars to get to airports, because parking generates money for airports, but it also costs a lot of money in places which are much more scarce in terms of square meters, because if you prefer building parking or runways. So we use AI to estimate a point-to-point demand and recommend the ideal transport connection. And on that, we set different objectives in terms of optimization. Could be environment, if you want to reduce carbon footprint. Could be load factor, if you want to have your subway full, like it could be in Tokyo in the morning, or your flight full, feeding connection. And but it could be also, in most cases, revenue optimization, because transport operators are due to make profits, or even in case of public services now, they need to be sustainable. And when it comes finally to cross-selling packages, it's still really archaic, and it looks like all banking settlement from the past century. If you buy an airline ticket which is combining 2 airlines, they will exchange coupons like banks with checks, in the old time, and the settlement is doing a very old way. So the chance is that the airline business is really standardized globally through the IATA, International Airline Transport Association. The issue is that when it comes to railway, we got national monopolies with different technologies from a country to another, and when it comes to long-distance coach companies or bus companies, there is no IT. So what we simply do is that we use smart contract and we use AI to reconciliate as well all these tickets sold to manage the settlement of revenue between operators. We do not sell anything. We are not B2C. We are purely on the B2B part, and we just help people to create value-based pricing. We recommend what should be the ideal price. You know, if you fly from Abu Dhabi to New York, you will pay Abu Dhabi to Paris in business class on Etihad, you will pay 5,000 euros. If you fly from Mumbai to Paris on Etihad in business class, you will pay 4,000 because the demand is different, even if it's the same point through different point of airlines. So just to summarize, we believe that the transportation is moving towards a few things. It's customer-based pricing. We get to more customer insight. We need to know who is the customer, what he does, what his inspiration like. And it's all about building door-to-door journeys to settle the revenue in real time. And the great thing behind that is to unsilo the travel community. With a bit of humor, I think AI would make travel great again. And still in this business, a CRM means can't remember me. We don't know it's traveling. Think you travel with many travel operators, they don't have any clue about who you are and what you like. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Christophe. Any question from the attendants? No. Yeah.
Yes.
Just a little works. Yes, just wanted to comment. If you want to reduce the footprint about car emission and stuff like that, then you should also stop flying airlines.
Sorry?
You stop flying airlines.
Well, but it does. There is this big debate on how much carbon airlines account in the world. It's a fringe part. But we should replace at least some flights in Europe by trains. Because it's the future. You know, airlines capacity, traffic is due to double in the next 15 years. So from 4 billion to 8 billion passengers. And the challenge in Europe, we're already constrained in terms of capacity in the sky. So we got disruptive project like Caesar to extend things and to make things better. But Eurocontrol is believing that the future of flight is train.
Any other question?
It was really that clear. You're ready to take a quiz now? Or yes.
I wanted to know if you are already using robotic process automation to automate the process between different companies in the workflow. It's another approach with IR. So did you test it or?
Yes, thank you. That's a very good point. What we do, actually, we have a forecasting part, and we use what we call a data studio. In our studio, the next step, once we integrate data, we do a first unconstrained ideal demand, and then we apply constraint. And we started to do, because our customers, they start from what they know, so correlation, they're supposed to be good. And we use our system in an unsupervised mode automatically to recommend connection, to recommend correlation which we did not suspect. The other thing which is fully automated is that we analyze, for example, for an airport like Hong Kong, how many passengers would go to Shenzhen or from Shenzhen to Guangzhou, and the leakage and recapture rate, and that's using a machine learning algorithm. and we do cluster all the data and make recommendation on similar airports. So the guys from Hong Kong, they were always benchmarking the airports to Shanghai or whatever, and they realized that they could be very close to Brisbane, and they didn't think about it. And we use Brisbane profiles in certain patterns because the behavior is very similar. So it's but we got still a lot to do in terms of automation in these processes. Thank you.
Thank you, Christophe.
Thank you.
We can applaud Christophe. So now we will talk about credit card fraud detection. I'm sure you saw in the exhibition show we have a lot of exhibitors, credit card professionals. To talk about credit card fraud detection using automated machine learning, I call on stage Simon Gazikian, CEO of My Data Models. Welcome, Simon.
Thank you. Good morning. The goal of my presentation is to give the possibility to security experts the possibility to build automatically predictive models for credit card fraud detection. So that's what I'm going to show you. So something which is very practical. I'm going to show you technology, real stuff, screenshots. So if you have any question, of course, feel free to ask. So let me start with 4 facts. First, the one which is really well known today, decisions are increasingly data-driven, of course, obvious statement. But the second point is less obvious. Data available are more often small data than big data. And I will explain to you a bit later what I consider as small data, as we consider as small data. It's not my statement, but more and more commonly used in the industry, small data. The third statement is that domain experts, and we are here with, I guess you have a lot of experts in this room, in terms of security. Experts could be industrial experts, could be researchers, but we are today at TRUSTECH, so we are going to talk about security. Most of the time, those people, they have limited or no data science skills. They have no clue what is, coding, programming, or a machine learning algorithm. They know really well their data, they know what they are looking for, but they don't know how to do it. The fourth point is when available, not all the times, data analysis solutions are time-consuming, complex, and expensive. So let's start with the iceberg. As I said, big data, everybody talks about big data, but in reality, this part of data is not the most frequent kind of data that people meet in their day-to-day business. So if you consider that the visible part is big data, like in the iceberg, small data is more than 5 or 6 times the reality, the operational reality of people, small data. So you see all the big guys on the left side. They have cloud resources, algorithm, everything is free in terms of software, but not free in terms of cloud resources, because this is their business model to sell cloud resources, because big data, huge resources, GPUs and everything. On the right side, you can see, I would call them pure players. So they have data science solution for big data, but again, big data, and they require data science skills. Small data, this is like a desert. Nobody there. So on the left side, when we talk with customers, prospects, most of the time they use Excel. Of course, Excel is not a machine learning, technology, but they try to survive with Excel. And we are on small data. So we are, I could make a joke and consider that the guys on the surface are like the Titanic. They will sink one day. I'm joking, they will not sink. And we are the yellow submarine. So that's what we are looking for. So that's the first issue is small data. And I will come back because I'm going to show you a demonstration using small data. The second point, as I mentioned before, is the fact that there is a big shortage of data scientists in the world. The data scientists are the experts in machine learning. And those guys are very expensive, difficult to find, not really always available. So the the way they work when you have a data scientist is this part. So it's a long process, time-consuming, repetitive process, expensive, long, in red, weeks up to months. We have an approach which is completely automated, completely automating the process of building predictive models. So in a few clicks, and I will show you how it works, you get your data, you know what you're looking for, you're a domain expert, and you get your predictive model, and you deploy it immediately. So we address 2 points, 2 items, small data and automated machine learning. So because we are in TRUSTECH, as I said, our technology is transversal. We have been developing this technology for more than 15 years. I'm going to talk about a case which is how to build, a credit card fraud prediction case. We can apply our technology in many areas, but again, because we are here, I'm going to talk about that. So the objective is to automatically generate a high accuracy fraud detection predictive model. We have taken a public data set on a site which is called Kaggle. Maybe some people in the room know Kaggle. So this is something which came out from Ethos Worldline in Belgium, and it's made of more than close to 300,000 transactions. The issue here is that we have only around 500 fraudulent cases. So that's why I call this data set a small data set, because it's highly unbalanced. So it's difficult. In the real world, you will never find 50% data set. Because come on, the fraudulent people, they are not that high. So 30 variables, which have been completely anonymized. So I'm not really aware of what you were, trying to predict, because it's super confidential on the public, website. The challenge here is not this number, as I said, is the fact that we have only, few fraudulent cases. And when you have, traditional machine learning technology, they struggle. They cannot find it. They really, try to go walk around, but they struggle. So highly unbalanced data set. So few screenshots, because as I said, we have a real technology. It works. It's running in the market. So the first, don't want to go into detail, but just to show you, the simplicity for domain expert to use that in an Excel-like approach. So step 1, you get your data in the software. You assign your variable, the target variable. You assign your explanatory variable. Step 2, because you have 30 variables, maybe the best way is to try to find what are the most important variables. So you reduce your variable. Step 3, you build your model live, automatically. So all the technology, because I'm sure that you are going to ask a question maybe later, all the technology behind that is our technology, it's our own IP. It's inspired by genetic algorithm. So we have not invented a class of algorithm. People say, I have invented a class of algorithm. Bullshit. Nobody does that. Because all the stats and machine learning have been invented in the 50s and 60s. Everybody knows that. So what we have done, and that's a big achievement of the company, is that we have removed major roadblocks of those genetic algorithm technology, which were really promising, but kept in laboratory for many years because it was not working in operational life. So that's what we did. So that's why we see generation. You can see, not in this slide, but in the technology, mutation, crossover, genotype, phenotype. That's the way it works. Step 4, so we have a model. Again, not going into details about training, validation, partition. Everything is completely automated by the software. Now you have to look at the performance metrics. How can I measure that my model is performing well or not performing well? Is it acceptable, not acceptable versus my use case? In this case, as you can see, so we have the test partition, which is the one which is going to tell me if it's acceptable or not. We have different metrics. By the way, we are completely going to update the UI, which is a bit raw. We'll have something really sexy by January. But this is the key metric, which is the true positive rate versus, the positive and negative cases. So I want to have the minimum case where my model is going to go, to be not predicting well the positive cases, which are the fraudulent cases in this case. Okay, so that one is 95%, pretty high. This is the physical form of the model. Genetic algorithm, we produce mathematical equations. That's the beauty of genetic algorithm. Mathematical equation where you can see the variables. So variables are V. They are V1 from V30. Again, everything has been anonymized by the guys from Atos. But you can see that we use in this model only two variables, V4 and V14. Super compact. You can see what are the variables which are used. If you use deep learning, you don't know how it works. You don't know the variables. So you have no readability. Here, you know, you have sinus, you have, different cosinus, you have everything is super clear and compact. So results, true positive rate 95.5. This is what we call sensitivity, which is the key metric, pretty high. Benchmark at the bottom of the slide. So how do we compare versus the traditional toolkit of the data scientists? Really well. We are on the top performance results. The goal here is not to say that we are better than the others. The goal here is to say we have something which is, I call that ready-to-wear machine learning versus haute couture. So we are not haute couture. Haute couture data scientist. But we need ready-to-wear because this is how the market is going. And we are ready-to-wear. But at the same time, we are ready-to-wear, but with something which is really performing really well. Platform, super light, cloud and on desktop. I use a desktop to do that. 30 minutes. I'm not a data scientist, I'm not a coder. As you can see, there is no programming. So really up to you guys to use it if you want. Summary, I use a predictive case, a predictive credit card fraud detection case, but it could be applied to all cases in your industry. It's not a vertical platform. We are transversal. So it's really up to you to decide what are the use cases. Numerical data, no images today, but numerical data is everywhere. Again, why? If you don't know machine learning, use this platform. Domain experts, so they really well know that data. Cloud, desktop, you can also deploy on mobile, because the models are really compact, so you can have also some use cases for security on mobile or whatever. And if you want to try it, it's 2 weeks, free trial. That's it. Thank you.
Does anyone have a question?
Well, it's a good presentation. It was interesting. However, talking about credit card fraud, the key is really to do real-time capture of fraud. When the transaction happens, is you catch it, and there are programs to do that in all payment platforms. This is after the fact.
No, but that's a good question as well. In machine learning, there are two sides. First, you build your model. You build your model from historical data. That's what I did. That's what we did. And you don't do that in real time. You have historical data, so you collect it before. And after, when you, what we call, score the model, when you execute your model on production data, you do that real time. So to do that, the model I just showed you before, that one, you expose it through an API. So your application, which is going to collect, credit card information, will call this API real time. So that's the way it works. What? Sorry?
The performance impact for the fraud detection itself, because when I do a card transaction, it's milliseconds.
Sure.
Okay. And so to detect the fraud online real time, you don't have a lot of time to waste.
I know.
And so what's the impact of that if I bring this?
In that case, that's an IT problem. That's not a machine learning problem because, again, this is a small piece of code. So if your IT system has to use an API, so it's related to your system, you can embed this piece of code in your, also if you don't want to use an API, locally, in your application program, if it's local, don't want to go to the cloud. So there are, I would say, deployment options to maximize the performance of your security chain in that case.
Do you mean that I can incorporate this piece of code into my fraud detection programs?
Correct. Yes. It's C++, Java as well. Yeah. Again, I don't want to go into details, but there are two ways to expose the model in production through an REST API, which is the most common approach, or to have a C++ or Java code, which is the way we translate this piece of equation, and you run it whatever you want. Okay? Clear? Thanks.
Any other question? No, thank you, Simon. So, now we'll talk about cybersecurity. Our first speaker started at High-Tech Bridge at the very end of 2007 to deliver vendor-independent cybersecurity consulting and penetration testing. Later, on 2010, he decided that his mission was to deliver scalable, efficient, and effective web security services to companies from all over the world. Please welcome on stage Ilya Koloshenko, CEO and founder of High-Tech Bridge, for his keynote, Practical Usage of AI in Cybersecurity. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. So just before we'll start trying to understand how we can and how we do use artificial intelligence and, most practically speaking, machine learning in cybersecurity.
Ilya, could you please just the microphone?
Okay, I will. So just before we start talking about implementing machine learning and AI in cybersecurity, let's try to have an overview on AI and cybersecurity today. Now, when I was flying to Nice from Geneva, I was sitting nearby a person. It's just, a small joke to show where we stand with AI today, how ambiguous it is. And I was talking to him. He asked, are you doing some business in Nice? I said, yeah, I'm coming to talk about AI and cybersecurity. He said, oh, that's great. We're colleagues. I said, oh. He said, yeah, now NGOs are very important and big role played and so on. I said, what do you mean? He said, actually, I'm from AI. This one took me by surprise. I said, what do you mean you're from AI? He said, well, I work there. I start suspecting something that somebody has finally invented strong AI and we're becoming part of it. Then finally we understood that he was an employee of Amnesty International. So, but finally we managed to understand who is who. Okay, so let's start. Just some very quick numbers in artificial intelligence to make a quick overview where we are today, okay? So, listen to this. In Q1 2018, only in the United States, so just the first quarter of this year, American AI startups raised almost $2 billion of VC capital. That's a huge number, and we should expect probably some great evolutions there, right? So just Q1 2018. The Gartner says that global AI business will reach 1.2 trillion in 2018, meaning today. Also very promising numbers. BBC is trying to scare us. As usual, that robot automation will kill over 800 million jobs by 2030. Maybe. And if you're still considering to change or diversify your career, have a look that AI expert data scientists are making very attractive packages these days. That's absolutely true, that it's difficult to find good people who have practical experience in AI, machine learning, and data science. Okay. So it looks like a very promising start, and we should expect probably very growing market, a lot of interesting solutions, a lot of interesting implementations. And one of the fields when one would reasonably expect to see some practical usage of AI is obviously cybersecurity, right? However, let's have a quick look how good or how bad things are in cyber today, right? The Gartner again provide us with some very colorable numbers. Almost 100 billion spending on cybersecurity in 2018. Sounds very promising. Companies start care about cybersecurity, they see all the impact of GDPR and other things. So one may think that, well, cybersecurity is a big topic, it is a big deal, right? But I'd say every number we can say is only as good as it is in comparison when we can benchmark, okay, and we can juxtapose with something else. So in the United States, we spent almost 10 billion on Halloween goodies in 2017. So we spent 10 billion on Halloween goodies, pumpkins, and other nice stuff. And it makes 10% of global spending on cyber security. So probably it can answer your question why we're still getting a lot of incidents, why we have data breaches, and other inconveniences, okay? So White House said that in 2016, unfortunately they don't have numbers for 2017 yet, cybercrime caused over 100 billion losses to the US economy. Huge amount, right? And I purposely took their numbers because some of the vendor companies speak about trillions losses. So this is one of the most reasonable, well estimated, calculable amount I found, okay? UK confirms that 7 out of 10 large companies identified breach last year. And my favorite one, a cherry on the cake. Ransomware, malware purposely target US police departments. You know why? Because they have a lot of valuable technical evidence they have been gleaning piece by piece during years, and it's much less expensive to pay ransom than to recover, pay cybersecurity experts, so they will likely pay, okay? And thanks to cryptocurrencies, it's almost, I would say, technically impractical to try to investigate, okay? So now cybercrime in the feeling of impunity, they say, okay, who will certainly pay? We'll target them, and we don't care if they're law enforcement or not. Okay. So we can see some disparity, right, between AI and cybersecurity. So one may say, okay, why we are still not there that AI can finally stop cybercrime and so on. Let's have a quick look on the AI. Today when somebody is speaking about AI, you cannot be sure what he or she means. Okay. People put different meanings in the AI acronym, okay? It's often misused, it's often used for different things, okay? That is not really AI, but let's have a quick look, okay? So some famous people go as far as saying that AI will destroy humans. I don't think so. But if people will create defective AI, it may, okay? But today I'd say we can sleep well because our politicians have much bigger capacity and intend to destroy us than AI, okay? So going a little bit into details, I would present strong AI as a concept, okay, that should be able to learn and to progress in terms of skills and capacity to solve tasks akin to human, okay? So different tasks, different, let's say, area of practical applicability, so that theoretically can replace human. Good news, it doesn't exist yet, and it will unlikely appear within the next decade. So today when we speak about AI, it's most frequently some machine learning technology suited and tailored for particular narrow niche tasks, okay? It can outperform human in some particular cases because it's faster, and thanks to big data, it has much bigger capacity to recognize images, for example, or do some technical numbers, but an AI that is capable of replacing human does not exist, okay? Some people, you know, they are very impressed by TV shows where we show a robot that is cooking burgers and saying, oh, we will be all replaced because this robot will take care of everything. No, simply because, you know, what if an elderly lady come to McDonald's and would like to pay with a card and the card doesn't work? Will this particular robot be able to replace her? No. What if she spills some coal on the table? Will this particular machine will be able to clean it? No. What if you'd like to change the hamburger to put double cheeses, okay? Human can do this in an hour, okay? You just explain where to put cheese, how to put cheese, that's it. If you'd have this with a robot, you'll likely spend a lot of time to retrain, to rebuild the software and so on. So robots still have very narrow applicability, unfortunately, okay? Their applicability is growing, but still they are not capable to replace people. So machine learning, I would say this is one of the pillars of AI dome, okay? So most of solutions that we see today that are AI solutions and so on, they are based on machine learning. When you feed some data to a particular technology, you explain what result you would like to obtain in case of supervised machine learning, and the machine can learn from the data you provide to it, okay? So classical things like when you provide yourself on a photo, the more photos you supply, the better it will recognize you afterwards on your photos on Facebook and so on. Okay. So training data, as some of the previous speakers highlighted, I'd probably say that machine learning or AI technology is only as good as training data. Okay. If we exclude some simple cases, but for all untrivial application of machine learning, you likely need some expensive, unavailable big data, and the more data you have, the more reliable machine learning model and outcomes will be. So I'd probably even say the first rule of machine learning is avoid using machine learning if you can avoid doing so. Okay? Because still you may have a lot of ambiguities, it's not very reliable, it can support it, it can help, but still it cannot replace human, okay? I was just speaking at another event this week, and somebody was presenting an interesting case actually, saying that good news, people who you hate most will not exist anymore, lawyers. They said, you know, in the United States we invented an AI that is capable of proofreading non-disclosure agreement much better than any lawyer. And they showcase some numbers saying that an AI model was capable to find like 10 mistakes in a non-disclosure agreement in 10 seconds, while most experienced lawyers spend like 2 hours and found like 2, 3, 5, 4 errors, okay? On one side, it's a great news for lawyers because they can be assisted by AI now, so they will likely invoice you AI time, but say that they've been doing research. However, some limits, okay, so for example, you certainly know that a contract perfectly valid and enforceable in Louisiana will be invalid in California, okay? And many other different things. So it was a AI capable of analyzing a particular NDA under a particular law, okay? Moreover, what happens when the, for example, US Supreme Court take a new decision and new law doctrine is here? The AI should be retrained, okay? Otherwise, it will stay in the past. So continuous education is very important. Last but not least, you know, what if any other documents exist, okay, that can probably supersede the NDA? What if the signature is invalid, okay? What if the NDA was signed by a person who was not authorized to sign? This particular AI will never tell you this, okay? So it can assist, it can complement the lawyer, but it cannot replace it, because if you'll use AI to make your NDA assessment, I would probably call it the fastest way to get into legal troubles. So, and to summarize economical practicality, when we're talking about AI, many companies just try to use it as a buzzword, okay, saying that AI is most powerful technology. Always ask about economical practicality. For example, you have 10 people who are performing some routine tasks, okay? You pay them salaries, so far so good. Somebody's coming and telling you, oh, we can replace all of them. Machines will perform everything. Ask them about, you know, how much it will cost to develop, implement, and most importantly, maintain, okay? Because processes evolve, and likely you'll need continuous retraining of your machine learning technologies. Therefore, you'll need new data. So the question is how much it will cost at the end of the day, because some people think that you can just implement AI so far and it's all okay. No, it's continuous cost, continuous investment to maintain the technology, okay? So, application security and AI. We're talking today about our cybersecurity skill shortage. I think it's a little bit exaggerated because we do have a lot of qualified, a lot of talented people, but the problem is that we do not have qualified people to implement risk-based, consistent, coherent cybersecurity program within a company. So we desultory try to implement different solutions, different technologies. We start back bounties, we do penetration testing, we combine everything. We don't have a clear goal, we don't attribute clear role within the team, we don't allocate budget, we do not empower our technicians to take decisions themselves. We just try to purchase different products, different technology, hire external consultant to see whether you're GDPR compliant or not. Okay, so it's very laser approach without sustainable approach how to build your cybersecurity strategy today. Okay, and this is something where AI cannot really help. I'd say it can assist, it can guide, it can provide you some useful data in order to take well-informed decisions, but it cannot replace you there. Okay. So, for those who are familiar with cybersecurity back bounties, an emerging trend, to cut the long story short, you simply say that I authorize everyone to try to attack my applications, websites. If you find a vulnerability, I'll pay you a bounty. Okay. So, practically speaking, you say, I authorize everyone to test, to probe how secure I am, and if you find something, I'll pay you. Okay. So, this is an emerging, growing trend these days. And practically speaking, again, when we're talking about AI and that AI will replace human and humanity is endangered, no, not really, because we still see tremendous growth of back bounties, crowd security testing, when people and only people, okay, are testing security because technology are allegedly not capable to do the same thing as good as people are doing. Okay. Again, that's not true because usually it's not about technology, it's not about people, it's just how coherently, how consistently you build your application security testing plan. Okay. So just to show you where the core problem usually is, this is organization. Okay, so we made a very quick report on FT 500 companies, how secure or insecure they are, and so 70% of FT 500 global companies can find access to some of their website being sold on dark web. Well, I don't think that's a huge news, but just to show where we stand today. 92% of external web applications have exploitable security vulnerabilities. 19% of the company have external unprotected cloud storage. Number may seem a little bit small, but just to tell you, unprotected cloud storage, it means like Amazon S3 bucket, where we can find some confidential internal data, or PII, okay? So they just create cloud storage thinking, okay, how do we do this? We click here, okay, cool. Let's upload everything, we have cloud backup, now we are secure. Unfortunately, you are not. And this is a big challenge today for many companies. And only 2% of external web applications are protected with a web application firewall. So it's not a question of AI technology, it's not a question about manual testing, it's not about, vulnerability scanners where we have a lot of debates, what is better, how we can benchmark, how we can outperform. It's mostly about, how to structure consistent, coherent, holistic, encompassing all your digital assets, application security testing program in your company. AI will not replace your cybersecurity strategy, okay? You have to build it. AI can support, AI can guide, it can provide you some meaningful numbers, but it will not replace you as CISO and his or her team, right? Just to show you what we built at High-Tech Bridge to enable companies, this is very simple, very common sense based application security testing lifecycle, okay? So we say before you'll start spending on technologies, on people, on AI, whatever you would like, you have to make comprehensive application discovery and the inventory, because most frequent data breach today is caused by forgotten, abandoned, and therefore unsecured, externally accessible system. Because people simply put something, deploy some test systems, demo systems, forget about them, and then nobody cares, because we have large companies, people come, people leave, and we have growing shadow IT legacy applications. This is a disaster. So we say before you'll start spending into penetration testing, bug bounties, AI, whatever you prefer, make sure you have a holistic, comprehensive picture of how many assets you have, because if you will miss one single application, you will likely be in trouble, okay, because the attackers will not miss it. So very common sense, saying that you start with discovery, then risk assessment, risk mitigation plan, then testing and remediation. Very common sense. And most of our customers are saying, that's great, that's already makes things clear in our head, but how do we do application discovery? The previous speaker was speaking about small data. That's exactly the problem, that vast majority of companies, they have Excel files somewhere with their systems, applications, and so on. Nobody knows where is it. We even had a case when the customer said, oh, unfortunately, I don't have a list of my web applications. It was destroyed by a ransomware attack. So what we did, we built a free product, okay, for our customers. All you need to do, you provide your company name. Okay, so we don't need any internal, any confidential data from you, so no paperwork, no NDAs, okay? And we'll try to use open source intelligence to allocate all external web, mobile applications, microservices, web services, domains, names, everything attributable to your organization. So you can just enter your company name and we'll try to find every external web resource attributable to your organization, okay? So you can have at least what external cyber criminals will see when they'll attempt to attack you, okay? Then some of our customers, I had an interesting case. It was a government who came to us saying, okay, we expect to have 250 applications. We're perfectly aware of shadow, legacy, we know this. We expect to have 250 applications just to make sure it's not intrusive. You'll not do port scanning or any aggressive things like that. No, it's totally non-intrusive, only publicly accessible data, okay? So we don't need to sign any NDAs, nothing. Only the information you can publicly find. I said, okay, let's rock. We found 8,000 applications. They were positively impressed, but now they have a dilemma how we can tackle 8,000 applications. They sincerely believe they have 250, now they have 8,000. Okay? So to solve this challenge, we implemented Discovery AI. As you can see on the screen, just below the orange boxes, we have what we call hackability score and attractiveness score. So what we've been doing during the last 3 years, we've been gleaning open sources, okay, for all websites that have been breached, hacked, defaced, infected, that were misconfigured, that contain known vulnerabilities. So we gathered all publicly accessible information about all insecure, vulnerable applications that were accessible, okay? Now for every application, without being intrusive, just, calculating publicly available things like whether there is a web application firewall, which particular cipher suits they have in their TLS, which particular software they use, how many external JavaScript libraries they have. So only non-intrusive things. We are capable to tell you how technically hackable from 0 to 99 your application is, and how attractive your application will be to potential intruders, okay? When talking about attractiveness score, we also take into consideration different external and up-to-date data, like how many patents the organization has, okay? How many online payments are conducted per day, whether they're a public company, whether they have stock, and so on and so on. So some financial things in order to tell you for each of your external application how technically hackable it is and how attractive it would be. So people usually say, okay, we'll start with 90 plus, okay, so we can tackle most appealing risks. Then we'll go to 80, 70, and so on until you reach your risk appetite, okay? So this is just to show how relatively simple machine learning and big data can support people in making informed risk-based decisions, okay? They'll not replace your CISOs, they'll not replace your team, but you can at least count on them, because usually when you have 8,000 apps, if people would be doing so, it will take years. In our case, it will take several hours, okay? But then people have to come back into play and to decide what to do next, which risks they can accept, how much budget to allocate, and where they need to start, okay? Because some of the applications, they are not supposed to be even externally accessible, okay? As simple as that. So most frequent use case is that people say, wow, this is our CRM legacy copy, why it's accessible? Who knows? So, okay, something that AI cannot decide for you. So, practical takeaways. Strong AI capable of fully replacing us, people, does not exist and will probably not appear within the next decade. Okay. I think AI will rather create new jobs, because AI and machine learning can replace some routine, trivial jobs, you know, when you don't need any creativity, okay, when you do something, you know, very repetitive tasks. Or it can provide you with a great support. For example, if you're a lawyer, you can reduce your time spending on, you know, banal, trivial, routine tasks. Or if you're a CISO, again, you will not need to do some, you know, boring things. AI can support you and allocate and free up your time to do something more interesting and more beneficial for you and your company, okay? However, AI is not a silver bullet. It will not fix, it will not repair fundamental things. For example, if you don't have a risk-based, okay, comprehensive, holistic cybersecurity program in your company, don't even start using AI, because you will invest money, you will likely lose them, and you will not get the benefits you are looking for, okay? So paramount thing is to start with risk-based approach, to understand what you are trying to do, what are the goals, what are the acceptable risks, how much budget you have, how you can empower your team to tackle the problems, and in which particular approach, okay? And then AI can support, can help, and can cut your costs, okay? But don't start saying, okay, we'll spend on 5 AI solutions and it will be okay. And last but not least, it's applicable not only to cyber, but I'd probably say everywhere. So when somebody is trying to sell you an AI technology, machine learning stuff, simply ask, okay, that's great, but what is my economical benefit? You're telling me that it can cut my cost, it's AI, it's genius, and it's all about mathematics. Okay, can you please calculate what are my gain, okay? Speed, reliability, costs, anything else. So ask for some practical benchmark, AI versus non-AI, okay? So what I as a customer will obtain. And it will help you to understand, like, okay, I have 5 people who I'm paying 5,000 per month, for example, and the AI will cost me 500,000 and then 50,000 per year for support. So something that will start bringing me money in 25 years. You can say, okay, probably I can survive with my team. I love them all. I don't need AI today, right? So please do not hesitate to drop me an email or to connect on LinkedIn. If you'll have any questions now, I'll be also excited to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilya. Any question? We have time for one question. No, always clear for you. Thank you. Thank you, Ilya, for your talk. So now we will talk about healthcare, the healthcare sector. Our next speaker has been VP of eCare Innovation and Partner Management at Siemens Healthineers Digital Health Services business. With a diverse background in digital health and eCare innovations, medical imaging, and biomedical engineering. Welcome on stage Marcus Zimmermann-Reiteiser for his keynote, The Future is Now, AI as a Driver of Sustainable Healthcare. We can applaud him. Thank you.
Thank you, Mathieu. Thanks for the nice introduction. This is an image of a lung cancer patient, actually. And what you see here on from your end on the left side, on the top of the left lung, is something which would be diagnosed with cancer. And typically oncologists would somehow try to structure kind of cancers. And that would be rather one on a stage 3, stage 4 type, so very late in the process. Actually, that is a patient, he was 52 years old, and he died 6 months after that was diagnosed. And you can, of course, ask why the heck that happens, that he did not know before and go to the physician. He really didn't know before, because he would not have any symptoms to detect that. And the question is, what can our industry and our technology do to avoid to detect that rather late? And late means it's not that single patient. It's actually 80% of patients who are having that kind of cancer, they are dying almost 5 years after they get diagnosed. So it's the critical piece is to find that diagnosis and to help the radiologist to find diagnosis earlier when they are tiny and very small, 3 to 4 millimeters, and they are starting to grow. So that's a little bit the talk, and I'll guide you through how that can be supported. But before going to that, kind of a bit of a history and structure into the topic. Now I'm representing Siemens Healthineers, but also COSIR, which is one of the biggest trade associations where all the bigger vendors, also smaller vendors in digital health, medical imaging, radiotherapy, and electromedical are part of. And we are not only working on the diagnosis part, but also on prevention, diagnosis, on the treatment, and also on rehabilitation. And in Europe, you may be aware that 98% of the cost we spend in healthcare, we spend on curing the acute problems. There's only 2% we spend on prevention. So I think we need to reshuffle that a little bit. When we talk about AI in the healthcare industry, we are using different acronyms or symptoms. Yeah? So we are trying to support the physicians in their decision making at the point of care. So you may hear words like computer-aided detection, where we pinpoint the radiology to a specific area in the image that he is attracted to just look to that part of the image. That's what we call on the detection. There's quantitative image analysis. So
You have the. Thank you. Within the SAP Security Research Organization, our sixth and last speaker leads distributed and intelligent enterprise systems security research in collaboration with SAP partners and customers. We can welcome on stage Laurent Gomez for his keynote Intellectual Property Protection for Distributed Neural Networks, Data, Model and Inference Confidentiality Preserving. Thank you, Laurent. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, good. So very lengthy title here. Hopefully, we'll get some insights here. So, working for SAP, I'm a researcher for SAP Research Security. We are working together actually with our partner and customers ecosystems, working together towards like the ERP or enterprise systems of the future. And obviously what we are looking for is to embrace all the different technologies that could help us and support us to materialize this vision of future enterprise systems. Let's start with the context. Actually today, if we look at ERP systems, the unique source of truth of access points today are cloud or on-premise systems. And what we are looking for, and this is really something that we have observed and we are working together with our customers, is to move our ERP systems, move it to the edge. Okay, so move it as close as possible to the business or to the shop floor. We are working, for example, with some customers on their production lines, where we are pushing some our applications, our data as well, as close as possible to the machines, production machines, and where we could, okay, as close as possible to the machines to do some predictive maintenance, for example, or to detect unplanned downtime. And the objective here is obviously to take the data, to take our application, and to push it as close as possible to the shop floor. But while doing that, we obviously increase the attack surface of our systems. And the problem that we might have some problems or data which could be compromised, first of all, and also application which might be compromised as we are pushing them as close as possible to the shop floor. And this is in that perspective, what we are looking forward at SAP is to really enhance and to expand our security frameworks to the edge. So, and from three different perspectives. First of all, from data protection perspective, from a device perspective, and also for an from an application perspective. So if we push the data, we have to protect the data from the very beginning, from the device to the backend application. The same for the device, the same for the application. If we push applications, we have to protect those applications there. And this is what we are all looking forward here. And to that perspective, and also this is something very important also for SAP, is to leverage on machine learning capabilities or machine learning technologies to do, for example, predictive maintenance on production lines. To do also what we have a project, ongoing project together with the city of Antibes right now on their video surveillance systems, where we get some information from their video systems. We extract some insights of their video out of the video stream to do some risk prevention in public spaces, to analyze, for example, abnormal behavior in public spaces, suspicious vehicles close to critical infrastructure. And this is something that we do as close as possible to the cameras. The objective here is obviously to improve the operational efficiency of those solutions. But it's obviously raised several problems in terms of security. And let's start first with the application. So if we look at the value proposition of, we were talking AI, machine learning, whatsoever. What we have in front of us is we have some inputs, so data, okay, that we collect. We inject a lot of data, ingest a lot of data from distributed systems. Would it be video streams? Would it be information coming from machines, and so on? We process that data to create high value insights out of this data. Because, for example, video stream is useless as such if we do not extract, if we do not have the means to automatically extract information out of the video stream. And based on that, we can take action. So we have some outputs, meaning like some insights, and based on that, we can take action. We can take action and inject that data, those insights, in our business processes. So in order to build those machine learning capabilities, we need three major key resources. First of all, we need data, a lot of data. Everybody here would agree on that. We need a lot of data. We need also annotated data. We need an infrastructure, okay? You can barely run your machine learning model, first of all, training or inference on your laptop or on your mobile phone. You need really costly infrastructure to build your machine learning capabilities. And you need also expert knowledge there. So if we look at the key activities we are observing while we are developing some machine learning capabilities, there. Data science, first we have to understand the problem, we have to prepare the data, we have to deploy, to train. Training it's very consuming tasks here, and we have to deploy afterwards and to maintain and to also provide compliancy of the guarantee the compliancy with regulation. So let's start with the data first. So we talk about as part of the value chain of machine learning, we have input and output. And there we have to guarantee the compliancy with international data regulation bodies, like including, you might think obviously about GDPR here, and this is one of the major security requirements that we have from our customers. GDPR. This is something very important. Input and output of machine learning capabilities or our algorithm that we deploy on the edge needs to be compliant with those regulations. Secondly, we have to protect also the machine learning algorithms themselves. And this is also a very important asset that we have to protect. As said, we invest a lot of time, a lot of money in deploying those machine learning capabilities, and we have to protect those. This is really a key business value that we have here, and we have to protect. Today, and if you look at the literature, today is very difficult, and there is almost no mean to protect properly your models when you deploy them. Would it be on the cloud? Would it be on premise, or even like on distributed systems? There are barely no means to do that, and this is one of the problems that we addressed here in the activities we have within research. So, what's the problem? Again, protect the IP of the model that we are deploying, and also being compliant with the security regulation, GDPR, in terms of confidentiality of the data. That's something very important for us. If you look at the state of the art today, there are several approaches. First of all, to protect at training phase, to protect the data that you are using to train your models. But actually, even though it would guarantee or protect the confidentiality of your training data, at runtime, there is no solution. This is not like of use, and at runtime it's fully out of scope. Embedding some watermarks in machine learning or neural networks in order to mitigate reverse engineering on the attacks on models. That's also very good, but still at runtime, it doesn't guarantee anybody to steal your model. Processing on encrypted data. This is something also very interesting, meaning like protecting the confidentiality of your data themselves. While we here, we protect the confidentiality of the data, we do not protect the model itself. And that's why we came with a solution at SAP Research. We came with a solution which enables us to protect at the same time the confidentiality of the data, so meaning input and output, together with the algorithms themselves. We applied this, and this is what I will show. I will give you some insight on this solution here. This is what we applied to neuronal network. I told you we are working with the French public sector on how to leverage on existing video camera systems and how to extract some insights out of the video streams. And actually, if you look at the AI capabilities that are which would enable us to do so, neuronal networks or deep learning is one of the major technology as of today, which could enable us to do such kind of things. And this is why we are here applying this approach for confidentiality of the overall machine learning capabilities, security of the first of all of the data and also of the models on neuronal network. If you look at the neuronal network, actually it's a sequence of different layers. You have input layer, which would be a picture, okay? So you inject a picture, and as an output you will have a classification. Okay, classification meaning like you will have like some probabilities on having a person on the picture, or car, bike, a train, whatsoever. Okay. If you look inside the neural network itself, it looks like a bit like some pretend that it would mimic the brain. It's not exactly like this, but the way it works, we have some hidden layers, and each hidden layers or each entry of each neurons is based on the result of the previous layer. Okay. So, and the way it works is basically within, and all the magic happening here in the neuronal networks is all about, like, first of all, you do some multiplication and addition of the result of the previous layers together. And this is first of all that we do. We do some kind of weighted sum of the result of the previous layers. It looks a bit complicated here, but it's actually only a weighted sum that we are doing here. And secondly, what we do, we apply some activation function on top of the results that we receive out of those weighted sum. These here, those are nonlinear functions. The objective here is really to have a kind of nonlinear output out of the previous layer, and that's what we do here. So this is the way it goes. We start with input layer and we inject it through the networks, and we obtain some probability on the objects being on the picture here. The way we propose to protect that is to use what's so-called fully homomorphic encryption. For those who are not familiar or which are not cryptographic experts, this is a very interesting encryption schemes, encryption algorithm there, which enables you to prevent or to preserve the data confidentiality, or data confidentiality, while still being able to do some basic operation on the data. So you operate, or you do addition. You can do addition and multiplication on encrypted data without disclosing the content of the data. Okay, and I mean, I won't go into the details here. Just take it for granted. Okay, so you can do addition, multiplication on encrypted data. That's it. And this fully homomorphic encryption works well. So I mean, it supports addition and multiplication. As we do first linear operation or weighted sum, good. We are good to go. No problem with that. We can apply that. Okay. So this is the way it would work. Basically, we encrypt we would encrypt the parameters of our neural network, so the weight associated to each neurons, and that's we are good to go. The problem is on the nonlinear functions. Okay, they are not. I mean, it's not incorporating addition and multiplication there. And what we have to do, actually, we have to approximate those functions into polynomial functions. So meaning like transform operation where you do not have addition and multiplication into polynomials where you have basically you get back to addition and multiplication. And there, from once we have approximated those functions into linear function, then we are good to go and we can apply fully homomorphic encryption. So overall, if we summarize it, first of all, you train your model. Okay, you train your model. Here we are speaking about neural network. It could be the same with machine learning models. You train your models based on knowledge. It takes time. It takes also it's costly because it takes like infrastructure and so on, and a lot of data. You protect that, encrypting your model. Okay, you protect that and you encrypt the model. It works a bit without going and really I'm really high level here, okay? But it works a bit like it's based on public key, private key, PKI approach, where you have a private key that you keep secret and on the backend side, and you have a public key that you will distribute together with your encrypted model. So you push your model, encrypt it, together with the key. When you receive some data, that data you can encrypt that data with that key which have been provided. You inject it into your model and you obtain an inference. Okay, inference which is encrypted there, and that inference is sent over the network. Okay, good to go. And once it's reached the backend, we can decrypt that information here. So meaning, no one in the middle can get access first of all of the model. Okay, it have been deployed and encrypted, and we protect also the data confidentiality, and we also protect the output confidentiality. Maybe any questions so far before we go to the conclusion? No. One could ask about the performance of this approach, because fully homomorphic is well known to be time consuming, resource consuming, and we are actually conducting some evaluation on this approach. For that, we are working together with NVIDIA, so leveraging on the GPU accelerated operation there, chips. Yeah, and we are experimenting together with different customers, including the city of Antibes on their video stream. So the performance that we have today are quite promising, based on the fact that we are operating only on CPU on a regular laptop, and we are around 20 seconds for model encryption, and also when we are performing some encrypted inference. So only 20 seconds to inject encrypted data into the model and to get an encrypted data. Obviously, for real or for runtime, analyzing runtime, a video stream, this is not yet efficient, but there are some cases where this approach could be applied. For example, identifying a car close to a school, or a truck, for example, close to critical infrastructure, malicious packages in public spaces. Those kind of use cases could be used or we could use this approach in those specific use cases. Yeah, that's after all we are keep on working on the optimization of this approach. And we are looking forward as well to and working together with GPU providers, including NVIDIA, to have like GPU enabled FAG, fully homomorphic encryption libraries available on GPU in order to accelerate again those processes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Laurent. So this is almost the end of the session. Maybe a question for Laurent. Too many questions? No, it's okay. You are the question man, apparently. No, it's okay. Okay, so thank you, Laurent, for your talk. This is the end. I hope the speakers have answered to your questions on AI. Don't hesitate to join us at the room 1 at 2 p.m. for keynotes of Elisabeth Baron, the Ford Motor Company. There will be also Emmanuel Perrault from Gemalto, and keynote on innovation on financial and banking services by Andrew Vorster. Thank you. See you later. Goodbye.